All right. So, what's going on? How about those game guys? Notice I didn't use the feminine qualifier. Lots of stuff going on, as is always the case for the scavenger hunt. Cool. Friday. Calling all seniors, something going on. Anybody looking for employment? Chamber orchestra concerts going on.
I like how in the Sixth Sense they capitalize the C and the C.
That's pretty cool. That's funky. The place of reception is happening April the 5th at 5 o'clock. You can RSVP. Map platter, something going on. Alcohol policy survey.
Mm-hmm. You can't have alcohol on campus at all.
No. Completely dry can.
You can't even have like decorative bottles.
Yep. All right. And what else?
No.
Self-defense products. You're not allowed to have mace?
Nope, no, we're not.
That's
I have a
kinda
taser
silly.
just in case.
You have a taser?
Yes.
Don't tase me, bro. When that close.
No one's so like apparently when someone like approaches you and you get scared, instead of pulling out your pepper spray, you're just supposed to call CCP.
Okay.
And they're very responsive.
All right. Okay, so just a few announcements and then along with the show. Remember that I'm giving you the day on Thursday to work on your stuff. And that stuff you're working on is what?
The paper that's due the Saturday after the last Friday. of
Right.
months.
Wait, this Thursday?
The simple application paper, due the 22nd, is that right? And just as a reminder, I am going to be out of town for the rest of the week. So I will be leaving actually early tomorrow morning. I thought I had to leave tonight, but I'm not going to leave tonight. But in any case, so I will be around virtually, and I will be emailing you perhaps on occasions, and you can go online to see all the fun stuff that we're doing up in Greenville for the SSCA conference. 5 students are going, if you recall. Lainey is presenting her senior thesis. Palmer is on one of the top paper panels. Devin Walter, Ashley Robinson, and CJ Anderson. So, cool stuff. And if you want to learn more about it, because maybe you in the future can do this as well. And you can actually go here and see the program and all this type of stuff that's going on. So some super cool stuff. Questions about anything at all? It's cold in here.
Except for the windows, eh?
Well, no, I think they really put on the AC. All right. So I put a few more new things up. Oh, by the way, let me take a roll for the first time in a while. Where's Lana? Is she going for any sports stuff? No. Bree, anybody know where Bree is? Maybe she'll show up. Anybody know where Anna is?
It's not time for Najee to get here.
Yeah, that's true. She gets here a little bit late. All right. So, chapter 11. Another one of these chapters that you could easily apply to your life for this third paper. All about player-coach communication. And some pretty interesting. There you go. Oh, that's Bree.
That's free. It's still too early.
Oh,
for
that's
that
the
one.
one.
It's just 11:07.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh.
We have to change this now.
Are you going from tomorrow? Are you going from tomorrow? Or are you driving?
I'm running for that.
All right, so just some of the basics here. I know a lot of you have played sports before. How many of you have ever had a coach? How many of you have been a coach? So some interesting things here. They sort of go through the whole process of various sport outcomes and coaching and what all this stuff is really about. I mean, a lot of the stuff is just sort of introductory stuff, talking about sports success and all that type of stuff, but just sort of indicating the importance of coaches. The real meat of the chapter is when they go into sport communication or sport outcomes and coaching. And so one of the arguments that they make is that coaches serve basically two important roles, two important communication roles. You see everybody's doing their notes, it's awesome. Basically a teacher and a game manager. And the funky thing about all this is what? Well, they can be competing. Because sometimes, if you're trying to be the teacher, sometimes, for instance, this is what I put on Facebook a while back, you learn more from losing, right? You can't. So, as coach, if I really want to teach the folks, the kids, or whatever, maybe I should make them lose. But, as a game manager, I don't want to lose. So, it talks about how sports does offer a forum or a place to teach issues of all sorts of different things, responsibility, conformity, subordination, blah, 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 effort, persistence, delay of gratification, but also the coach needs to win. So there is this sense that coaching has become this process of getting your folks, your players, your participants to win at any cost, which is very, very problematic. It does say at the bottom of page 238, this mounting pressure to win increasingly impacts the coach-athlete relationship as coaches are required to make decisions that are less about athletic development or less about athletic development in a sense. Even in developmental leagues, coaches are accused of playing to win versus playing to learn, and parents have added to the complexity of this issue, as you know. So all this type of stuff sort of impacts the coach-athlete relationships. What is the role there? Is it to help folks develop as human beings, whatever that might mean? Or is it winning? Or is it both? How can you balance the both? And that's the hard thing to do, particularly in this culture in which we live, where we learn from, again, Talladega Nights, that if you're not first, you're last. I look really fat on these things. I need to lose like 20 pounds.
I forgot.
Yeah. Okay. So, sports outcomes and coaching just generally. When it goes to the relationships type stuff, more specifically, I said I'd let you read that. But the important stuff to me for future reference, perhaps a examination, is the stuff on that's on the bottom of page 240 to 241, where again it sort of talks about different types of parents, because some parents are sometimes, parent-coach relationship, I'd say player coach, parent-coach relationship. Here are some of the types of parents that we see in the relationship between parents and coach. You got the antagonist, they say, that overemphasizes the skill of their children and demands that much of the coach's time and effort be devoted to that kid. This is my kid. You got the non-attenders who basically, I'm just going to drop my kid off and on. You got the spectators who help practice, but take no big part. And then you got the helpers that are really, really helping. And then you got the committed members, like fans in a sense, who assist with the coaches. Maybe they're our coach, maintain contact with other parents and stuff like that. But I'll let you look at that. And then the chapter moves on to talking about issues of leadership and leadership orientation. Have you ever heard of leadership at Columbia College?
Never.
Never.
It's not one of the 3 C's.
No, it is not. Four.
4 C's?
Four. You don't graduate now.
Great.
Yeah, the 4 C's. One of the things that I do really like is the idea of coaching immediacy. A lot of folks who are studying coaching right now look at coaching immediacy. Have you ever heard the term of immediacy in any of your classes? What does it sound like?
Right now.
Sort of, but that's not really what it means. I actually did a paper on this a long time ago, not coaching immediacy, but teacher immediacy. And it's old hat, but a lot of people are still using it. The main thing is Anderson describes nonverbal immediate behaviors as communicate behaviors engaged when a person maintains a closer physical distance, including touching, use of gestures, eye contact, blah, 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 blah. But there's also verbal immediacy that sort of gives a sense of feeling close to somebody. For instance, when talking about issues of teacher immediacy, research indicates that if you say, like, we, our class, instead of your class or my class, it creates a sense of immediacy. And so, for instance, when you are speaking or lecturing, if you move closer to somebody, it indicates a feeling of closeness or not, and that might be immediacy. So people are looking at coach immediacy and how that impacts the entire thing. And basically it says, results indicated that coaches' verbal immediacy behaviors were significant predictors of 3 of the 4 measures of team cohesion, while perceived nonverbal immediacy behaviors emerge as a predictor for social attraction to group and were the only significant predictor of task group integration. So, that is, if you are an immediate coach and do all these things to make people feel cohesive, then yeah, you might have a nice sort of social cohesive group, but it might not be necessarily a predictor of winning. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, and then there's all this sort of information about, well, I'll let you read all the stuff about different types of leaders because you get that in pretty much every class. But the leadership style stuff on table 11.1 is a really nice sort of, here's the table about different types of leadership. You all probably heard of these before: the autocratic leader, the democratic leader, social support, positive feedback, training and instruction. So just sort of take a look at that. Then, I want you to read the positive coaching stuff. I'm not going to cover a whole lot of this stuff because it's pretty interesting though. Basically, this is from sports psychologists, and it talks about Phil Jackson. And basically it says that sports psychologists have supported it as athlete self-efficacy and motivation are highly correlated with positive coaching behavior. It's sort of, they say it's a new movement, but not really. So basically the idea is, so it talks about John, I don't even know who this guy is, amassed 484 wins during his career, blah, blah, blah. Didn't use his whistles during practices, nor did his players engage in live contact outside a game situation. He was soft-spoken, included no profanity, was effective for fostering strong bonds with his players. By the way, who won the game last night? UNC. I was hoping Gonzaga would win, just because I think they have a pretty campus. Where is it? Do you know where it is? It's Washington State, Spokane. I just found that out last night. And then I went and looked at images of